So some mistakes were made over in Hong Kong Island. For me, one of the big mistakes was not purchasing the Aston Martin. This all surrounds the Grand Tourers, and I personally opted for the Bentley GT Continental. Many others opted for the Porsche Taycan. I cannot in good faith race a racing game with an electric vehicle. It had to be something with internal combustion, and I did choose the Bentley GT Continental for very good reasons. Multiple racing games, the GT Continental has been a go-to car for myself. But when I drove this Aston Martin, the noise that this car makes, I felt like I made a huge error not picking this one up. What better time to jump into it than coming over to Ibiza? We have got a whole bunch of new races, and we've bought the Aston Martin. So to kick us off with today, guys, we're going to jump over into, first of all, the Champions Parade, a 3.1 mile race on asphalt. It is dry. We are capped 550 to 650 RP. But we're going to jump into the Aston Martin and see what it's all about to kick things off today. Touched on this one yesterday, these intros, I like the intros, that one having a little bit of a glitch to start out with here. But let's launch this Aston Martin offline and see what it's like. Tons of wheel spin. Of course, we're getting out dragged by a four-wheel drive electric vehicle, that's fine. I've got confidence in our ability into turn 1. We are up the inside of the Audi, all over the track. Turn 2, once again, the Audi all over the track. We force our way up the inside, a little bit of a switch back there, and we're neck and neck, a drag race up towards turn number 3. We're holding our own so far. We've got the inside line for this right-hander, and with the Audi does brake there. We do get a bit of screen lag, unfortunately, but the Audi, it backs out. We take turn number 3 into turn number 4. We outbrake ourselves ever so slightly. The back end is a little bit twitchy in the Aston Martin, but we have now got the lead, out dragging the Audi. That was fantastic, a great start to today's race. Now through this little section we've got a couple of curbs or speed bumps. It does unsettle the Aston Martin a little bit there, and that left-hander into this right-hander, I am very cautious of the back end of this thing stepping out. It's got tons of power, it's rear-wheel drive, I want to be as cautious as I can. Braking slightly too late there for that right-hander, taking a little bump on the wall, but it's not affecting us all too much. We've got quite a substantial lead. Now, in through the gas station here, we do have a little bit of an unresting moment, the back end lifting off the ground, which causes us to obviously outbrake ourselves and hit the wall as we do come round the sharp shop there. A nice little tight section there, once again being cautious in the Aston Martin, but this thing I do feel like I made a big mistake not purchasing this when I had the chance. So coming back now to get into this car before we get into all the new Celine cars that have came to us was a must. Tight left-hander here, again being cautious, giving plenty of room to that inside left wall. Clipped it a couple of times yesterday, didn't want to make the same mistake here. Right-hander again, giving plenty of room, and we're probably going to do the same for this left-hander right here. We just clipped that one and no more. I love these tracks that we've now got. I wanted some tighter closed circuit track racing here on Test Drive Unlimited, and I have now got it. I'm a very happy man, as you can probably tell. We probably could have kicked the back end round a little bit more there, used the rear wheel drive to advantage. We didn't do all too much with that point, maybe do better next time out. But as we look to finish this one off, about 20% left of race number 1, we're well and truly in the lead here. We're not getting much competition from the AI so far. I have seen a bit of an improvement from the AI, which is fantastic. They're just not right on the back of us just yet. As we can see, 15-second lead on the rest of the pack. But we'll get the power down here for a very tricky ending to the first race. Through this little section we can see as soon as we touch our wheels off the track or we hit those plant pots, the car comes to a dead stop. I don't like it, I don't love it, but it happens. We'll cross the line on a very unsettled Aston Martin, we'll kick the ball, score the goal, and win race number 1 for today in the Aston Martin. But I'm not going to hold us to one style of vehicle for the intro races here to Ibiza. I'm going to experiment as much as we can, enjoy the cars that we have so far, like I mentioned earlier, before we head on over to buy those Celine editions and experience the new cars that have dropped in game. Some very quirky updates have happened, the likes of the Abarth 500, I only noticed this last night, is now rear wheel drive, so there's plenty we can now start to discover. But we'll stick with the Grand Tourers for today, and we head over to race number 2 through the parks of Dalt Via. Another 3.2 mile race. It's clear, it's asphalt, which is fantastic. Grand Tourer category, and this time we are 750 to 850 RP. And we're going to try something, a car that has been very lively throughout Hong Kong Island. We're going to jump into the BMW M4. Struggled to get to grips for the most part with this car. A couple of the races it has been good for, but it's so unbelievably lively through the back end. We can launch it off the line quickly up through first, second and third gear to get as much traction as we can. As we do come around this little roundabout section here, we have already got ourselves a bit of a lead, giving plenty of room on the inside and outside of these initial turns because those walls just close in on us so quickly. We've got a good lead here so far. We want to try and maintain it. We want to stay as clean as we can as we come through this little tricky section, braking a little bit heavier than we really want to, but I want to try and keep this car under control as much as I can as we come into this tighter section that we have got here, unfortunately clipping that inside wall. We do manage just to navigate around that left-hander as tight as we can on that left-hand wall, and it sets up for this next little section here. Right-hander into the left-hander here. It is wide, but it does tighten up as we start to come uphill once again into the first hairpin that I absolutely love. I've had a lot of fun getting around this hairpin, especially in the M4. The back end squirming under load as we come uphill, down through the left hand of the car, unsettling just a little bit. We can see the back end stepping out, stepping out again. It is very powerful, it's very lively in the back end, but it's also a bag of fun just having a little bit of freedom with the M4, letting that back end step out on us. It is tons and tons of fun. Down into this left-hander, I contemplated drifting right around that one. I chose against it. I thought we might end up in disaster. Tapped on the brakes, came off the throttle and straightened up the BMW. Now through this big flowing right-hander, I'm cautious with that one once again. We could have drifted around it, but I chose not to. Just too much risk for that one. And again, I lifted through that little section there. Didn't want to compromise the exit as we come up to our nice, tight right 90-degree turn. Easy for me to say. We navigate that one well, and the next one, a left 90-degree, we navigate that one also well. As we get the power back down, we can see the back end of the BMW does step out on us once again. But as we start to come down through this back section, we can see the car starting to get unsettled. I have this thing set up so stiff that any slight little bump, we can see just how unsettled the M4 truly gets. With the track now starting to tighten up, a lot of slaloms, a lot of chicanes coming up here, the BMW actually navigating it quite well, but struggling ever so slightly as we start to get the power down. We unfortunately take out that inside wall and that inside wall, that we do clip them, but it's not causing us too much pain so far. We're not losing too much time as we can now push forward. Last night right 90-degree turn, struggling to get the words out today. We can push forward on that last 10% of the race. Big sweeping left-hander here. We want to just apply a little bit of handbrake, get that back end kicked round in the M4, punch this one forward to cross the line, take out the win in race number 2 for today, compose ourselves and hopefully get our words out a little bit better. And we will now shoot forward into race number 3 of the rotation that's currently going on here with the Grand Tourer category. We can just see that previous race has now changed to cross country. I love to see it. I like how we're getting these rotations. But race number 3 will be the trip around the peninsula, Grand Tourer race of course, 550 to 650 RP, a 2-lap 100% asphalt race. And this time out, yeah, we've got to do it, guys. I would be remiss if I didn't jump into a Grand Tourer race without jumping into my beloved Bentley GT Continental. Launching this off the line, of course, we're going to have our 4-wheel drive launch. Not a lot, apart from, in my opinion, the Taycan really touches the GT Continental off the line into turn number 1. We're a little bit slow, we're a little bit tight, but we're tidy, and tidy is key on this track. We can punch it out of turn 2, get the power all the way down here, and pretty much leave the pack behind us. I do imagine we're going to go largely unchallenged while we're racing in the GT Continental. As we come uphill here, we do lift as we've got a big crest on that hill, and it does unsettle us into the braking zone. Now into the tight section of this track, left-hander, we can punch it forward, couple of right-hand 90 degrees turning up here. We just navigate that one fine, missing the tyres on the inside of the barrier, missing that barrier once again, giving it a bit more of a wider berth. Right-hander flowing into left-hander, but that left-hander, as we know, does tighten up, and we do get a little bit wide on that one, taking out the clamp pots. Now we come into the very tight section. If it wasn't tight already, coming through this little part here, it's good, it's fun, I love it. I've not yet experienced that in the daily drivers, which I think would be a good class, but in the GT Continental, navigating it fantastically well. Little left hand, almost hairpin there, up into this right hand hairpin where we can play a bit with the handbrake, try and get the back end of the Continental to swing round. Unfortunately, we do clip the barrier on the inside there. We do lose a bit of momentum, but it's not going to hamper us all too much in this race. We're well ahead of the rest of the pack. Tight section here, it is very tight indeed. I do want to take my time not to clip any of the walls on the inside or the outside. We can now get the power down here, fully commit to this big sweeping left-hander before we have to come off the power into the right-hander. But we can carry as much speed as we like, lifting off the power as we do start to see those lampposts into the tight section to finish off lap number 1. And we do cock a leg, we're right up on 2 wheels guys, but the power is back down and we do cross the line into lap number 2, back into our first heavy braking zone. We outjudge that one just a little bit. We don't clip any walls, but we have to brake heavier than I really wanted to. Round turn number 2, easy for me to say. We can get the power back down as we start to come up against the rest of the pack who are just looking to finish off race number 1. Back uphill once again, nice and cautious for that crest as we don't want to outbrake ourselves and hit that wall. It would be catastrophic for our race time. Round the left-hander, set ourselves up for this right-hander once again, missing out those walls. I do go a little bit wide there, take a bit of curb, but it's not really compromised us all too much. Right-hander again here, I go in there a little bit heavy, locking up the brakes, but we've been alright so far. Left-hander here, we're a bit tidier this time out. We don't go wide, but we do unfortunately clip the corner of the house there, again losing a little bit of time. We do need to tidy these laps up just a little bit as we come through this little slalom section. Again, I absolutely love it. It causes us to be more cautious and more precise with our driving, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Round the little hairpins here, we do flick that handbrake, we do swing the back end of the Continental round into the right hand hairpin. Once again, we tried to swing that back end round, but the Continental finding more grip than I thought it was truly going to. Now into this section, I just think this is so good, it's so tight, it causes us to be so precise and really think about the driving that we're putting down here. The Continental handling it fantastically well. We can now punch this one all the way around that big flowing left hander once again, try not to lift, fully committing to the grip that we do have in the Bentley. Into the right hander we do want to lift. Unfortunately I left a little bit too late and I do hit that outside wall, but it's not hampered us all too much with our race time. Nice and slow through this little last section as we punch it across the line, and again we're catching up with the rest of the pack there. A little bit of a glitch with the AI on that race specifically. They do tend to linger about the finishing line when we do finish out the race. We'll see how that one progresses going forward. But it was great to come over onto the first rotation for myself of the Grand Tourer races. There's of course more to cover off, which I will of course be making more content on. But I do hope you guys have enjoyed today's content on the Grand Tourers in the Aston Martin, which I regretted never getting into. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Let me know what cars you are using in the Grand Tourer races on Ibiza. It'd be interesting to know, are you still committing to using the Porsche Taycan? It is of course the meta, it is the fastest car in the game. I just cannot bring myself yet to be using that vehicle. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Please do smash up the like button, subscribe, tap on the bell, leave a little comment, feed that YouTube algorithm as always, and stay tuned for more updates on Test Drive Unlimited. Solar Crown.